Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do uranium technical analysis update, and I'll give you my financial opinion. Again, I don't trade in and out of these things. I invest when the value is good. I stay invested. I dollar cost average in when things look cheap or when they pull back. And looking at this, I mean, we've got volume all over the place. And when volume gets really high, what I really like to do is I just hold. I don't really buy, I don't really sell. I watch what the price does, and then I try to get clues from the charts to see maybe which way we're going. But irrespective, I'm a long-term holder. I'm 5 to 10 years out. So the short term doesn't bother me at all. We could get cut in half and it still wouldn't bother me. I'd buy more. If we go up 100%, then I'm just going to hold on. So that's kind of my viewpoint, just to kind of give you at least the way that I look at these things. But I'll give you my financial opinion here. Let's get into the charts. I'll show you what I'm seeing. And here we go. So here we go. This is the physical uranium price. This is the short term, well, somewhat short term. We got these two little sticky points here. We blew through that. On the short term, the physical uranium price has been on fire. That's about all I can say about it. The money flows are massive. They're coming in. Will they continue? I don't necessarily know. And I know I get a lot of questions. Is now a good time to buy? Should I wait for a buying point? I honestly can't tell you. I don't know. I don't know if we're going higher. Don't know if we're going lower necessarily. But if the money flows continue, we're going higher. So it's highly dependent on money flows and the continued flow of money into the sector. URNM, North Shore Global Mining Uranium Index. We've come on up here. Momentum change down, momentum change back up. I'd say momentum is up, but this is really dependent on money flows. I don't see a huge amount of, there are some sellers. Look at the volume here. Volumes continue to increase. So when things look like this, and if you're a long-term investor, what I do is I don't get emotional here. I look at what is my risk reward here. I'm a huge buyer down here, and that's where I bought. Up here, when we start going up and the momentum's leaving, kind of, we'll call it the train's left the station, there's a lot more risk for this to pull back to, an area of 70 potentially, because usually what happens is you pull up and then you pull back to it. Now, are we going to get that pullback? We might not get that pullback. And that's why I'm not selling, because the momentum here is so strong. And there is some resistance up here. I was looking at it from a weekly perspective, and there's your resistance line. You can see that this is on a weekly candlestick basis. Big move here, smaller move as we come into this resistance area. Are we going to punch through it, or are we going to come back and do a little handle or come back down to 70? I don't necessarily know the future. But we can watch it, we can monitor it, we can see what happens. But I'll tell you this. Here's my honest opinion. You want to know my honest opinion? I don't really care what it does. I know this sector is undervalued. I think it has to go higher with time. And I'm a 5 to 10 year investor. So if this breaks and goes up, I'm good. My account goes higher. If this hits it and it comes back down, well, that's fine too. It's not gonna hurt me either way. I'm indifferent to the price move at this point. I'm not hanging on the price moves of every single second. Now, if I wasn't in the sector and I wanted to get in the sector, I would probably wait for, that's a difficult spot, because looking at this chart here, I maybe would have bought a little bit today. And I'd hold on and see if this would go down or up. It's probably what I would do. And most of these, the momentum was down yesterday, and the momentum's coming back up today. The momentum, not the price, the momentum. It means that when you trade throughout the day, you come on down, it's trading down, and then throughout the day, it comes back up. That's the momentum. That's the velocity or momentum that I'm talking about. So we came on down, and we came back up and closed. Same with Next Gen Energy. Momentum's up. So it doesn't look too bad. Fission looks pretty. Would I be a buyer up here? Probably not. But The momentum, I mean, the volumes, the way the monies are flowing through here, I look at this as a good hold area. Same with Denison Mines. It's trying to get through. There's some sellers up here. We have a wick at the bottom. This is basically a hammer pattern. This is usually a reversal sign if it's on the bottom. But sometimes they can be continuation patterns too. And I'm looking for contractions as we move up as well in the candlesticks. Denison does have some resistance in here. Wherever there's previous buyers and sellers, it provides a little bit of resistance when you're coming up through it. So that's where we're coming up through, is all these buyers and sellers in here. Sky Harbor's looking pretty good. Good 8.5% up day, good volume. We're kind of breaking away from this high here. We paused there for a little bit, went sideways, and then broke through. Canalaska's doing that same move right now where we came up. We're hitting this resistance back here. We'll see which way it goes. Baseload's got a little bit of resistance over here, so it looks like we're consolidating a little bit in this area before moving higher. UEXCF, again, we're putting in like a handle almost, where we could potentially punch through and move on up. Asian Court, looking at it from a short-term perspective and just looking at the candlesticks, I would say that this is going to pull back. On a big picture view and the momentum that we've got, money can flow in here any second and push this higher. So I would be at a hold. Standard Uranium, we're coming on up, pull back. You know, there's some sellers up here. That's why the wicks are at the top. So it came on up, sold off. Came on up, sold off. It's trying to punch through it, but there's sellers and resistance up here. UEC, again, sellers and resistance up here, but we do have the momentum coming back up. URG, it's the same picture. Sellers up here, wick at the top. It's trying to break through it. UUUU and other, these are all the same. They're trying to break through the resistance areas. They're trying. Good volume too. They're encountering sellers. In every single one of these, encountering sellers here. Bannerman Resources coming through, popped higher, pullback. Actually, this looks like a pretty good pullback because it came down and then it ended with the momentum coming back up. These open candlesticks means that it opened here and closed higher, but it was still a down day. So that doesn't look horrible. Looking at Bannerman, you've got this kind of U-shaped cut pattern that's developing. Sometimes what happens is you pull up and then it comes back to the underlying U-shaped pattern, but sometimes not. So we've got Goviax Uranium pulling on back. We've pulled up nice and strong here. We got a wick at the top, and we've got this is like a little pattern here, almost a hammer pattern, but very rarely do you see a hammer pattern next to this here. Usually this is reversed the other way. We'll see what happens on this tomorrow. This will be a fun one to watch. It's kind of a confusing pattern there because it came up, sold off, and then came all the way back up and closed, but it was a black candlestick. Weird. Global Atomic, this is a bearish engulfing pattern. It could potentially head lower here, I think. That's what the candlestick would say. But looking at it, momentum could easily change upward. Here it is on a long-term perspective. We'll draw in the chart pattern here. And there's your resistance that you're running into. I wanted to show you what I was looking at. And we might bounce and put a little handle under here, or maybe we punch right through. It depends on the money flows, guys. I mean, right now, I'm holding on. Will this come and pull back a little bit? It very well could. But with how crazy the money's been flowing into this sector, anything's possible. Deep Yellow, again, it sold off, but the momentum's ending upward. Forces Metals, again, nice strong day today. It sold off a little bit and then came right back up. So the buyers are supporting the price higher. So we're coming up to this resistance line. We'll see if we can punch through it. Blue Sky Uranium, this one looks, looks good here. It punched higher with a bullish engulfing. It's pausing a little bit. We'll see what happens tomorrow. A little bit of resistance up here. That's why the wick's at the top. Centrus Energy came into some sellers here, but we're still in an uptrend. It's a strong uptrend. Same type of pattern with Kazatomprom. Came into some sellers, but it's not too much volume. I'm just looking at this here. Man, this is strong. All these are super strong. International Consolidated Uranium, we're coming up into some sellers up here. That's why it sold off a little bit, but the buyers came in and supported it from the bottom side too. So it's a battle between the buyers and sellers right here. This is it on a longer term perspective. We throw in a candlestick here, and it looks like that's kind of where our resistance is coming from. We've got some resistance in here and here and here. We'll see what happens. Encore Energy, again, we're meeting some sellers up here. I mean, we were up a little bit, but the momentum's been flat to sideways, just sideways momentum. Peninsula Energy finally had some sellers sell this thing off a little bit, but a wick at the bottom, they came in and bought it back up. Momentum's heading up. Laramide's continuing to move higher. That's looking pretty strong. Laramide from a little bit longer term perspective and looking at where the resistances are at. Here's your resistance there, and it broke through it. It's clear as day if you can see it from this on a weekly candlestick. Resistance, resistance, there's some resistance underneath it. Boom, punch through all of it. Looks good. ISO Energy, holy moly. Here's our Hulk here. So this was a bunch of resistance here at 325. See how it came up here and sold? It sold here. We hit it a couple times, and then we punched through this massively. And then it was like a huge release and burst of energy as we broke through that ceiling. ISO Energy on a big long-term perspective looks fantastic. I don't know if I can see any resistance in here, and that's why this thing's cruising so fast. See how it broke through that? Massive move higher. This thing could run. So, I mean, if you own it, I own some of it. I don't own a huge amount, but I'm just hanging on. Boss Energy, the sellers up here are great in Boss. We got to get through all this, but it sold off, it traded down, and then it was bought back up. So momentum is heading higher. Here's Pierpoint Uranium. I'm just looking at some of these from a long-term perspective. There's a lot of resistance through here that it's trying to break through. And Fission, let me see Fission 3.0. So Fission 3.0 here, if we were to put it somewhere about there, let me draw it right through about there. We're breaking through that, but keep in mind, guys, on these long-term ones, sometimes they come up and then they want to come back and do like a back test, retest. So we'll see what happens. The momentum into this sector is incredible. So what I do is I hold on when we get this momentum. The momentum is so incredible that it's like, I'm not chancing it. The charts can basically tell me anything unless I see massive down days. Would I say, you know what, you probably want to, take some off the table, but the momentum's still flying through in here. It's still looking really strong on the physical uranium price. And these guys don't look too bad on the short term in terms of the actual candlestick charting pattern. So we could head higher. Some of them look like they could head a little bit lower. We're kind of at that inflection point. We've gone up a lot. Usually what happens is you go up a lot, you consolidate. You basically sit on the gains for a little bit. You want to see small down pressure and lots of buying pressure to continue it to move up. So right now, I would probably be looking at, guys, I'm going to have to go here. So I'm gonna post this, but I gotta go. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.